Hi everyone, Lila's Gigi here, and I'm going to bring you this bracelet by Zombie Find Me. She was inspired by Caru Rainbow Looms, Chidoro's Bling, and Justin Toys, and also Susan HB, who is Crazy Just Might Work, with their rings and their knots and things like that. So we've checked around, and I don't think anyone's done it before, and she got a lot of requests for this, and I told her I would do the tutorial for her. Now I'm going to set that aside, and that being said, you're going to need jump rings. I'm using these spacer beads here, and some beads, of course. And you will need a bands, and well, they're not even in the picture, are they? Bands and a threader. This is the plastic, the skinny plastic piece of thread that comes on beads. When you get the string beads, hard to see, and every time I set it down I seem to lose it. So with that being said, oh, and your hook would actually be nice. Now, bear with me because I want to make sure that I get this the correct way. You're going to put the ring on your hook, and I believe these are 8mm jump rings. You can see a size with my finger. I believe they're 8mm, and the beads that I'm using are also 8mm. So you want to do a slip stitch. Very easy slip stitch. Okay? Let me see if I can get that a little bit more adjusted, because that's about where my hand's going to be. Okay. Now, before you put your beads on, now one thing I wanted to tell you too, especially for the younger loomers that don't really have a lot of money, you can check with your mom or your grandma or your aunts and see if they have any old jewelry that they aren't using. You can take that apart and use it. Just works just fine. I get a lot of my beads. Now, I do get some from Joann's and Michael's, and I do order some online. But I also go to the thrift stores. I go to swap meets. I go to flea markets. Out here, they're called swap meets, but other places, like in the South, they're called flea markets. So what we want to do is give this a little bit of a tug. Okay, put your your hook down. Find that threader. Okay. And then we're going to put the thread through the band, just like this. If I don't lose that other end. That's what I get for looking at the camera instead of what I'm doing here. Okay, so have that on there, nice and snug, right? And you can just use your imagination any way you want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bead on first. Okay, and then I'm going to give it a little tug because I'm not sure how these, there they go on nice and neat. Okay, so I'm going to pull this, and instead of holding this and pulling, it will cut your band if you pull too hard. So what I do is I reach in and I hold the band, and then I give it a tug. Okay, hoping this one's going to work out. I did a couple more. These beads are a little large, so they might, you know what I'm going to do? Let's back it up a second here. Since I don't want to do bead, spacer, bead, I'm going to do spacer, bead, spacer. So we're going to put that spacer on first. I don't want them too much longer. I'm about to lose this thing. Hold on a second. There we go. I don't want them the set of beads too much longer than my jump ring, but that's just my personal preference. Okay, so I'm going to put the spacer bead on. Hold this, bring it out, and that goes on nice and easy. So I'll pull it to the end, and now I will keep my threader on there and then put the bead on. Okay. Give it a tug. Once you get it through there, grab the band and then pull. I don't want to take any chances of breaking my bands, and trust me, I've done that many times. And then we'll put the next spacer bead on. Okay, so mine will look, as I get this off of here, like this. Okay, now the next part is the tricky part. So you remove your threader and give this a nice tug, because you need, and if this bends, it's okay for now, because we need that. Okay, take your jump ring, and before I do that, I want to make sure I can see this piece right here that crosses over the front. I'm considering that the front of my bracelet. Okay, so if that is the front of your bracelet, you will take your band and put it through the top from front to back. Okay, now what we're going to do, this is the tricky part. We're going to, this band in essence is going to come over both sides of this jump ring. So any way you can do it, I usually use my fingers and just give it a tug, and I'm pushing this jump ring through that band. And what it does is it makes a slip ring. Okay, you'll find that sometimes the bands, as you're doing that, they get a little crooked. You can fiddle with them and straighten them out if you want, but this is what it looks like. Okay, the next step, and you can rewind if you want, I'll do this like maybe 3 or 4 times, is to put your band through here. Well, let's go ahead and do it the other way. Let's do it with the hook and see if I'm going to do this correctly, or if I actually have to go from the back. Pulling it around. Okay. Yep, I'm going to have to go from the back. So, like I said, this, where the crossover is in the front here, I consider that the front of my band. So you want to go turn it around and go to the back. Because when I pull this, make a slip knot with this, it's going to take this one and it's actually going to go over the other side of this. So you can see that, where they're the same. Now if you don't care, that's fine. You can just, you know, doesn't matter which way you put it in. But I do care. So I'm a little OCD that way. This doesn't really matter whether you put it with this to the front or not. But I'm going to go back. I'm going to add another spacer bead to this and get it through that little hole. And this spacer bead actually has a big enough hole where I can just slide it down. Okay, well, making a liar out of me, isn't it? Okay, grab the other ends that are still around your band, put them together, grab a bead, put your bead on, okay, give this a tug, and now that it's long enough, you can actually hold it back here and then pull this down. Once this gets through, you want to actually grab that and then pull it down. Oh, I don't have enough stretch on that, do I? Try it again. Okay, so it does get a little fidgety. Let me hold this and give it a good stretch. There we go. All right, now I'm going to put my spacer bead on. Okay. And there it is. And that finishes up this little segment that I have here. So I'm going to put my spacer bead on, get it through that hole, slide it down the threader and on to this. And this is what you'll have. Okay. Look at this again. I have to keep looking at it to make sure I have the right one. And this is the front of it. You can see this piece going across here, and it's underneath there, but it's also across that way. Okay. Now, I know that that is the front. I'm going to take my spacer bead. I'm going to slip it, not underneath, not from behind, through the front and at the top, because I'm going to pull this band down over this side and the other side, and that makes that slip stitch. Sometimes it's fiddly, sometimes it's easy enough for me to do. Usually hold it on one end and then pull it down. Okay, you see that, what I'm doing? I don't want to let go of the other side, I'm afraid. Okay, so there. So it gets like that, and then you just bring it down, and it makes a slip stitch. Piece of cake, right? Who would have thought? Beautiful, beautiful little design. Those are going to be hidden a little bit, so I guess I might have to go back in and fix those a little bit because it's bothering me. All right, so there's my little OCD showing. Okay. But for the sake of the tutorial, I think it'll be fine. And it looks like this. And you continue doing that until you get it the length you want. I will do this one more time with you and then go off camera and finish it. Okay, so this is the front, I believe. Yep, has my little cross band there. I'm going to take my hook, put the jump ring on from behind, and make a slip stitch. Pull that through, reconnect, and pull this through. And give it a little tug. Okay, and there it is. Always losing this. You know, it's light and it's hard to see sometimes, and oh my goodness, sometimes I'll have 3 of them out and not even notice it because I thought I lost them. Anyway, let's grab this again, make that even. Going to put my spacer bead on, thread it down, give it a little tug so you can put that spacer on. Grab another bead, find the hole, pull it through the hole, give this a nice little stretch, pull it. As soon as it comes through, you don't want to continue pulling. You want to pull this down and hold on to that band. Okay. And then I'll put the next spacer bead on right here. Yeah. And then pull that down also. Okay, checking to make sure that this is the front of my bracelet, and then just under here I can see the top of that. Okay, and down there also. So now that we have that done, remove your threader, take your jump ring, slip it. Hold on a second. So I am back. My apologies. That was my sister coming in. I was afraid the dogs were going to make a lot of noise. So let's get back to it. So we're adding the jump ring to this. I'm going to slip it right here. Now, it can get fidgety, so let's do this. Let's try something a little bit different. Let's put it close to the band, bring it forward. Okay, like over the front of the band, like this. Grab one side, grab the other side, and push your jump ring through. Oh, that worked, except I'll get that out of the way. There we go. All right, so any way you can do that, go ahead and do it, and this is what it will look like. See how pretty that is? I'm going to finish this up, and I will come back and show that to you when I'm finished. It's so pretty. I just love it. Love those colors. I did make a few more, and I'll, of course, show pictures at the end. It's so many possibilities with it, just so many. I made this one with the little eyeball beads, I call them, but so pretty with silver. And here I have the jump rings on the outside because the bead was small, just like, you know, well, I'm sorry, the bead was 8 millimeters, just like this. And then I added a magnetic clasp to this. Look how pretty that is. Okay, so that's one. I did another one where I put the smaller beads, these are 6 millimeters on the outside, and then a spacer bead in the center with, I believe these are also 8 And I say 8, I believe it's the inside part that's 8. Okay? And I added, again, this little clasp to it. I love these magnetic clasps. And I'm really loving this one. I used no spacer beads, but I used a wider bead. You can see it's almost as wide as my thumb. It's as wide as my finger for sure. And when I got done, I didn't want it real loose, but it was too loose to add the little round magnetic clasps. So I used this one, and I absolutely, oops, there's another one on there. I absolutely love this. I got it online. It was pretty inexpensive, but the heart actually fits into there, and it's magnetic, and I love it. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please follow me on Instagram, Lila's Gigi. Subscribe to the channel for any future tutorials, and hashtag, I believe Hollie, Zombify Me, is calling this Ring in the Bling. What a cute name for such a cute little bracelet, and it's so simple and takes hardly any time at all to do. Oh, and don't forget to hashtag Zombify Me and Lila's Gigi. Thank you very much for watching the tutorial, and I hope you have a good evening or morning or afternoon, whatever it is. Until next time, we'll see you again. Bye. I'm back. What I forgot to tell you was that if you do not have closures like these, you do not have to use them. Just make this long enough to fit your wrist. Okay, a little bit longer if you have to, and then don't put this last jump ring on. Instead of hooking this around, you can just put a C-clip on here. You don't have to, do this slip stitch. You can just put the C-clip on the band that's sticking out the end, and then you'll be able to bring them back together and make sure that the other end just has a band on it. Does not have to be slip stitched, because you can't slip stitch it on anything anyway. So it would, hold on a second, of course these bands are not cooperating. It would be like this coming out of your bead, and then you could just put a C-clip on this and C-clip it. And it should be fine because it is stretchy. You do have these bands in between. So for those of you who do not have closures or do not want to use closures and would prefer to use the C-clips, by all means, just do not put this last jump ring on. Okay? All right. See you soon. Bye.